Argentina, China,
France, Germany,
Korea, Japan,
India, España. Rice in country.
We did 2 classes in 6 weeks.
I had a professor for rice, and we also had a professor at the university that we were at.
The fact that we learned so many things at such a fast pace, we were able to use them in our daily speaking conversations with the actual Chinese people.
That was really cool for me to learn and to speak like a real German.
My host family was really, really kind and accepting, and they always let me practice my Japanese with them.
And my Spanish probably improved the most with my host parents and my host siblings because I got to practice speaking so much. They would help me out.
It was really great to explore Tokyo as a whole, but also to get down to the nitty-gritty of these neighborhoods and sort of get a feel for what each of these small little sectors of the city were like.
I love the city. There's so much going on. There's people out on the street. It's like a Sunday night at 10, people walking around.
I also had excursions where we every 2 weekends maybe we would visit other cities with the program. I'll always kind of remember very clearly just being in the middle of Berlin and just in the middle of just discovering something.
The kids would come up to us and be like, "You're a foreigner." And once I kind of got the habit of going, "Oh my God, you're Chinese." You can speak Chinese.
They factor in a lot of things that you get to do, which is volunteering, different types of classes, the internship, being with the host family, having language partners, doing excursions, and I think every single one of those components is what made the program how special it was.
So we had these language partners, just had this great conversation on the way home, and that was really cool because I made a real friend in Spanish, which was something that I thought was beyond awesome.
Welcome to the orientation session today. My name is Rafael Salaverry. I'm the director of the Center for Languages and Intercultural Communication. I'm native from Uruguay. We don't have a program in Uruguay, but at some point maybe we'll have one. A couple of notes about the video you just saw. There are programs mentioned in Argentina, in Germany, in India. We couldn't launch those programs this year. Continue with the program in Germany and the program in Argentina and launch actually the program in India because of the number of students. We need a certain number of students per program in order to make this financially viable. I'm going to say a couple of things about the programs. Probably you already know some of this information. The faculty leaders are going to tell you a lot about this. Before that, let me just say something about my link to these programs. I've been a faculty leader in both Spain and Argentina, not through these programs, but through University of Texas Austin, where I worked before. And that's where I started to think about these programs and what value they bring to the students, to the university in general. So we made a lot of changes to the Rising Country programs we have now here. I think these programs are very unique in the sense that one, we pay a lot of attention to what goes into these programs to make them substantial from a number of different points of view, especially the academic one. If you look around, and I'm sure that this is something that may not be obvious to you right now, but I'm just going to plant a seed. And by the time you come back, eventually, if you think about these programs and you look around in terms of the programs that other universities offer, that commercial companies offer, there's a huge difference, which is not visible from just looking at the descriptions. Or if you look at the descriptions, you see a lot of details in terms of what these programs have. When you really go into detail, into finding out what exactly is being done to accomplish, to achieve those objectives which are mentioned in these brochures, web pages, you realize that these programs are much more, they are taken care of, they are much more focused on what we really need to achieve, and it covers the whole spectrum, not just from the academic side, but also in terms of how we take care of the logistics, how we partner with local providers, and this actually hands-on approach that we have is, I think, one of the key factors that makes these programs different. So you know that from the faculty leaders working with you, who are very committed and dedicated and prepared for these programs. And also you will see that with the local providers, how much we work with them in coordination, trying to make sure these programs succeed. We also have, and this is why we call them Rising Country programs, the opportunity to offer direct Rice credit hours. That actually puts some pressure on us to make sure these programs are at the same level as if we were teaching courses here at Rice. So they're, in terms of the academics, they're going to be a very high level, really at the level of Rice University. And I think you're going to be able to enjoy them, not just get the benefits of that. And the faculty leaders will tell you about that. I'm not the one who's supposed to be saying those things. A couple of one announcement, which is important, which is regarding the deposit, just a little detail, but it's an important one. We stand behind the quality of these programs, as I said before, and one of the things we notice is that there are some issues that are not even in terms of some of you are seniors, so they're going to be leaving after these programs. And of course, the deposit, you will get the deposit back after the end of the program, after you come back. We want to make that even for the ones who are coming back, and we're asking you to follow up. This is something that I think you will want to do, but we want to make sure that we remind you of that and ask you to continue taking courses or any other activity. If your schedule doesn't allow you to take a course, language tables, anything you can do. But in order to make this more flexible, we'll give you the deposit back. So I think we had announced before, and that was the plan we had, which is to give the deposit back after you've taken a course. We'll remove that. We're just going to leave it up to you to decide what you have to do. Again, we'll encourage you to take those courses or do some activity, and I think you will want to do that, especially if you come back and you realize how much you learned. And the thing to keep in mind is that the experience is not going to go away, but some of your language proficiency might start to go down a little bit if you don't practice the language, if you don't use it. So even if you cannot take courses the semester right after you come back, we encourage you to stay in touch with the opportunities here on campus. And for the ones who are leaving, hopefully you're going to find other opportunities in other places wherever you go. So I think I'm going to stop here because the important information is coming from the faculty leaders. But before I do so, I want to thank you again for your participation. As I said before, your commitment to these programs. I know that you probably have a lot of questions, some anxiety in terms of what you're going to find here. One thing I want to make sure that you know is that you're going to be taken care of by the faculty leaders, by all the people working in these programs. And I know that for a fact because this is the second time we offer these programs officially. So we started last year. This is the second time. We had done a couple of pilots before, but these were not the official Rising Country programs. You were not getting direct Rice credit, etc., even though they were already moving in the direction in which we have them now. So when you come back after you've had this experience, I'm going to ask you for a favor, which is to share your experience, to tell other students what you've done, what you've accomplished, what you experienced. Mostly because I think it's mostly word of mouth that people are going to find out how good these programs are. And as we start growing these programs, we'll have the opportunity to get more funding, to be able to support more students. I don't know if you know this, but some of you, if you have the financial means, you're paying for the tuition, and that covers everything. For the ones who don't have the financial means, we're trying to help you out. We distributed about $165,000 in scholarships for students to participate. We want to expand this. We want to have more students participating. We want to double the number of students. We're about 55. We'd like to get to 100 and even beyond that. So this is the key issue here. I mean, we can try to find the funding for the students to participate, the ones who don't have financial means. But truly, the biggest option, the biggest opportunity for us to grow these programs is through you by sharing your experience, your opportunity, what you experience in these programs, and let other students know so that they can sign up. In many cases, we know that some students are not aware of these programs, what they're about. In some cases, students don't know how to plan ahead and sign up for these courses so they're ready to participate when the time comes to sign up. So with that said, thank you again for your participation. I wish you success. I'm going to be around here, and now I'm going to let Mariam start with the first session, the important part of the orientation.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for being here on a Saturday morning. And first of all, I wanted to congratulate all of you for being part of this such an amazing opportunity. I mean, you may not even now even still realize what you signed up for, but I promise you in a very good way, but I promise you that once you go and you come back, you would be hopefully thrilled by this experience. And I have heard that I have led 2 study abroad programs in France. This is my 3rd year. I have been fortunate enough to take my students again this year. And I'm going to tell you that all of my students coming back or finishing the program, they all told me, even the ones who had to let go of an internship to go, that I'm glad I did it. Nothing in all these years that I've been studying and I've been going to college would ever have given me this experience. So thank you, and I'm really sure that you won't regret this choice. So we're going to go over different aspects of the program. You do have already a lot of information. We just want to make sure that everything is clear for you. I have designed this roughly half an hour in a way that you can also work with your partner to kind of see where you are, what is your understanding of each element that you're going to get in these programs, and then to give you a little bit more information. So I'm going to start with the language pledge. As you all know, once you arrive, literally your plane lands, I mean, even not sooner, you're signing a language pledge today, meaning that the moment you get to that country, you will start only speaking in that language. This is going to be a very important part of your experience, since it is exactly as painful as it may sound now and during the first few weeks. That's what's going to help you really learn the language. It's going to also help you is by realizing that there are times that there are things that you don't know how to say, is when you realize that there is a gap of knowledge and there's something that I need to learn. So every time that you don't know how to say something, that's exactly a valuable time for you, because that's when you can ask and that's when you can learn. So this is also a very important opportunity for you. It's going to push you for sure, and it's going to help you assess your progress. So you're going to see that the first few days maybe you're not even willing maybe, or you cannot even start a conversation with someone. And maybe by week 3, you're already more comfortable. By week 5, you don't even realize that you're speaking that language. That's the amazing part of it. So the language pledge, please help all of you in the program. I just think you need to help your other friends accountable for that. Be nice to them, remind them, help them. Nobody is there to judge you. I mean, in all of those programs, everybody is there to support you and to help you. And I just think it's amazing. If any one of us one day is brave enough to learn and speak the language of somebody else, that's enough. That's already so valuable. And I don't think anybody should be and has the right to ever judge you, because you've been already brave enough to do that. So if they can do the same, I mean, you would know that they're not going to do that much better than you anyway. So you're doing great. And I'm telling you, based on experience, that I had to go through learning English, and it was very tough. And I'm going to tell you that I sat on days where I'd refuse to order things that I needed because I just did not want to say anything. I never picked up the phone for the first year because I was like, I cannot understand these people. It's just way too hard for me. So I just stick to face-to-face conversations. But you can imagine that did not go very well. That wasn't enough. So I wanted to move to the host families, and I want you to start with your partner, whoever is sitting right by you, to kind of still think about how to get the most out of this experience. You're going to be all living with host families. What do you think would that experience be? What are the challenges that you are expecting? What do you think the rewards would be? How do you envision this experience being? So just get with a partner for just a minute maybe, and then we can come back as a group. Okay, thank you very much. So I'm gonna come back to you. So can you tell me how to get the most out of this experience? As of right now, what are the strategies that you have in mind? What are you planning to do? Yes.
To do your best to quickly move out of that shy and nervous space
Yes.
and talk to and like approach your host family.
Very good point. Yes. Yes.
Take part in their daily routine.
Sure.
Someone mentioned last time to like kind of cook with your host family, and that's probably a good way to break the ice.
To cook with your host family. Okay, that's a great point. Even though you may have to be ready, there are some cases it's possible that maybe maybe not all host families might be open to the idea of you cooking in the kitchen. Not saying that it won't happen, but just have that in mind. So just really being open to different possibilities, that they are not going to be all the same. So there is that part of it. Okay. Challenges that you're going to be facing?
I mean, the obvious language barrier, at least at first.
Yes, of course. And hopefully these people do not speak even a word of English in any country. So that's you and them, really. And I know how mean it sounds right now, but trust me, you will just, that's going to be the best thing that will ever happen to you if they do not speak any English. Okay. So the host family is where you're going to get your one part of your complete immersion, because you're going to be spending so much time with them, and that's where real life is going to happen. You're going to be observing them, you're going to be eating with them, you're going to be having conversations with them, and it's very, very important that, number one, you get along with them. How do we do that? The number one thing would be to respect them, to respect their place, because they are also people who had their own routine. So as hard as it is for you, it's hard for them to have somebody brand new to their house and having to change their routines. They were used to it maybe with their kids every night. Now they have somebody that they don't know that is going to join them. They want to have conversations, but you guys do not understand them. So it is also, so it's good sometimes to put yourself also in their shoes. It's hard for you, but also think what it would have been for you being a host family. So it would be nice to kind of follow the rules of the country that you're going and the things that you've been asked to. Like, for example, I remember in France many times, because most houses, they only have one bathroom. So they were told that, we're going to have to come up with some kind of plan, like who is going to take a shower, especially if there is a large family. As you can see, two of my students last year, we cannot see because too much of the light, but they stayed with a family and they had 4 kids, this family, which was great. They loved it. But at the same time, you could imagine there were 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people living in the same house. And that was not such a big house. So they had to really compromise and adapt. They are a great resource. So if you need anything, my students learned a lot from their families. Every time they would go and ask the family, I want to go to this place. What would you suggest? I want to take the train. What do you think? I have found this thing online. What do you think? I'm not feeling well. What should I do? They should become your second parents. They are very, very caring people. They are used to do that. So they are very open, and they want to help you, but they can only help you if you ask for help. And they won't know if you need something until you go and ask them. So please share with them your issue. I mean, if there are anything that bothers you, so at least you can make sure that they can help you and provide you with guidance that you need. You can test your hypothesis, meaning that if you learn something in class, or if you are not sure, you can go home and test it and say, oh, today we learned the future. They said that these people, when they want to talk about their holidays in the future, that's the tense they're going to use. Let me go find out if they do it or not. Go to them and ask them a question that will force them to talk about their future plans, and listen to them. Your best learning would be when you are observing. So throughout, I remember one great thing that my provider last year told the students. He said, I know as in the US, you're used to put your earbuds and walk everywhere. Once now you got here, you take them out. That's the time that you need to constantly observe people and listen to them. It's amazing all the resources, all the sources of information that you can find by just looking and observing people. How do they say hi to each other? How do they say bye? How do they compliment each other? How do they ask for a favor? How do they order something? You can only do that if you are constantly aware, and not just, and you may not be used to it at the beginning, but that's how, and always have a notebook with you to take notes. They just told me this. This is what they use to be able to reflect on it or go back to it later on. The dinner time, it's gonna sound sometimes very long. I heard from many of my students that, oh my God, that was so long. We had to speak, and then these people were looking at us, and we didn't know what to say, and it was so hard. It got better. I'm gonna say for some people, and that's why I say if you are extremely in your shell, it will also make it difficult for them to interact with you. So you're gonna have, even if you're somebody who is more reserved by nature, this is the time that you need to get a little bit out and just try to be able to have conversations with your host family. So use this dinner time the best that you can, and don't be scared of it. It's gonna be long. Here, it's not like here. It's pretty long. I think in most places it is. So here is one of my students when she had to write a reflection. I ask always my students to write a reflection about the entire program, and this is what she wrote. The number one thing that I wanted to say for any one of you who speak French, I can't tell you how amazed I was and how proud I was of her when I read what she wrote in French. So I'm gonna just point to the French part of it. It was perfect. It was like I was reading it, not perfect just grammatically. It was so nicely written, so close to what a native-like French person would have wrote. So I was already amazed by that. But then here is what she said. One night, that's her host mom, asked me about my dreams and why I wanted them to become reality, and whether there was something better I could do to help the world. For me, this is when I realized that she really cares about me, and that was special because only people who care about us are the ones asking the tough questions. My students all had really a great time with their families, and they all remembered them mentioning how much they helped them through this process and how much they cared for them. This is the people that you're gonna be living with. So be comfortable. I mean, you're gonna be in good hands. So we're gonna go now to the academic part of the program. So I wanted you to discuss with your partner, what do you think the challenges of completing an entire year of the language in 6 weeks would look like? I mean, just think about it. 1 year, 6 weeks. And what does it mean working with a local faculty? We're all gonna have a local faculty. What do you think those challenges would be? What would be the benefits? So go ahead, please. Yes, because I thought that there was going to be extremely passive, and I'm going to lose them, yeah. Yes.
I know we've said this before, 1 year or 6 weeks sounds dramatic. When you say 14 and 14, 28 weeks or 6 weeks sounds much more. I think you should mention that because they're going to be scared of this. And you say 28 versus 6, okay, that's different. And now count the number of hours you spent on this. Actually, 6 weeks comes ahead.
Okay, that's true. Okay, so let's hear a little bit from you. What have you discussed? So what are the challenges, do you think, that you're going to have to face? Just one person, not everybody at the same time. Yes?
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. Okay. Yes, it is. True.
Kind of balancing that work with like a desire to just like go outside and do stuff.
Yes. Great. Okay. What does it mean for you, the idea of working with a local faculty? How do you see that? Benefits, challenges, what do you think?
It could be beneficial because they probably have a different like vocabulary base or like different accents than we're used to.
True. Okay. Anything else? So just to say that if you really think about it, it's true that we are looking at 1 year of instruction, but the reality is that you don't come here and you're not with us for an entire year, right? You just do 14 weeks and then you do 14 weeks. So that's number one thing. Don't think about it right like that. So it's just kind of like broken down. It's not as much as you would imagine it is. The other thing is that we are like, every year that I teach, I try to keep that in mind that my students also get a lot of information and a lot of source of data outside of the classroom. So I don't want them, I don't need, and neither one of us think that we should be doing exactly word by word of what we are doing here, because you're already doing so much outside of the classroom. Just by talking to your language partners, to your host family, you're already getting so much. So it is a lot of work in a sense that, you know, you're gonna have to come to class mostly every day. It's just a, you know, a certain number of hours. But at the same time, you do get breaks, you do go out, but it is intensive. It's just like an intensive course. But it's not, it's manageable. And all of the students were able to manage it. And everybody, I never had a student failing. They all got good grades, they all succeed. So it's not something that, and we are well aware. So if there is a week, like for example, I see that my students had a lot of outside activities, and if we cannot complete one lesson, that's fine. We're just not gonna complete it. It's just really, we are aware of, you know, your needs and what needs to be done. So it is a very nice blend, the collaboration that we're gonna all have with the local faculty. We are all gonna have the same standards that we have at Rice Abroad, and it is an interconnected program in a sense that we do something that it's harder to do here. We do oftentimes with our tutors, we can do it abroad. So let's say that again, you learn something in class, we are talking about greetings. It's so easy for me to send my students out and to tell them, go and observe people greet each other and take notes. What do they do? What do they say? When you go to your host family tonight, ask them about greetings. When you talk to your language partners, see how do they say hi to you. So we can really connect the dots of working inside of the classroom with outside of the classroom, and that is the main point. Nothing is gonna be disconnected. We're gonna use everything you learn in the classroom to take it outside, to see as much as possible, to see what actually L1 speakers do as far as what we are teaching you. Or oftentimes we had a chapter in my textbook about the education system in France. So what I did was to create a whole task and assignment for my students and their language partners to go and discover and contrast the education system in France compared to the US or to their country. I had Chinese students, so they did that, the comparison between the Chinese education system and the French education system. So they were able to learn so much just by doing that with their language partners. So that's the other beauty of it, where here you can't really do. You just come to class, you learn, you go home. At the most, maybe you work a little bit with the tutors. So it's gonna be very much connected. So when you hear community engagement, which is kind of like, we know in the past we had service learning, what do you imagine doing? And maybe we can do this all together. If somebody can tell me, someone can tell me, what do you think about it? What do you think you're going to be doing? Yes?
Like going out and talking to random people.
Talking to random people, okay. Hopefully we're not going to make you really do that often, maybe. Other ideas? You know that this is part of your program, right? Did you ever ask yourself, what am I going to do? Yes?
Performing service for the community.
Okay, service, okay. Anything else? How many hours a week are you going to be doing that? Any ideas? Every day? No, hopefully not. Okay, so my students last year, they were able to work with 2 different places. They work with a retirement home, and they also work in an after school. There are different possibilities. It could be different from one program to another, from one country to another. So what we did in France may not apply to, for example, maybe Japan or maybe Korea. But at the end, what we are trying to build for you is to spend some time with the community when you are providing them with some kind of service, and in exchange, it's mostly you get interaction with them. You get to learn from them. So what you're going to be doing, it's not going to be kind of like thinking about labor. It's not that. You're just really going to go and, for example, interact with the kids. My students, what was amazing to them was the difference of talking to kids versus talking to elderly people. That was like what they were, oh my God, wow, that was so different. And at the beginning, they thought that it's hard to talk to kids. They were surrounded by like 40 kids, and French kids, they are very, very outgoing. They all came to my students and they did not stop asking them questions. So the first day that I got there, my students came to me like kind of panicking. They don't stop asking me questions. I don't know what to do and I don't understand them. And they were amazing because these kids, they would ask, and obviously they would not speaking any English. My student would not understand. They would reformulate for them. And then they would reformulate again. They were so patient. And some of them were just like 5 years old, 6 years old. So depending on how much you want to get involved, a lot of times those are very well organized, so you know what is it that you're going to be doing. And at the retirement home was the same thing. We had a lot of people who had memory problems. So what we were asked to do was that could your students have conversations with them based on the information that they gather? We want them to create a what do you call it? A postcard, like a big, postcard kind. No, not postcard, like a poster. Thank you. And we want to have their kind of the information about their life, what they did in their lives, and we want to just hang it there. So every time they ask us a question, they can go and they can learn back about their lives. And that was great. So my students had to ask them questions. They collected that data, and they had to create a poster. But the tricky part was that, I had to check on what they were creating, right? Because one day one of my students was writing, I can't remember right now, but something about the lady kept telling them, when my sister passed away, I had to take care of their kids. And my students kept saying, oh, that's so nice of you that you take it. And it was not clicking. And she couldn't understand that the lady's sister passed away. So she kept asking her questions. And the lady was getting very frustrated. She passed away, but she couldn't understand passed away. So she kept going. And at some point when I was listening to the recording, I told her, well, I think that's what she meant. Oh, I had no idea. I'm so sorry. I said, that's okay. That's why we do this. Exactly. That was the point. So she couldn't really ask her the relevant questions because she didn't understand. She just thought the sister was so nice and she raised the kids of her sister. But she couldn't understand why. So that was really nice. And again, about the implementation phase, that's again a good time for you to go and try out things, to say something and see if they understand you. Do they respond appropriately? Oftentimes, if you don't get an appropriate response, maybe something was not well formulated in your question. So if you say something, they respond something completely different, that's the time that you need to think, oh, what did I really say to them? And then you can just go back and reformulate. The other feature of our programs that we all have are the work of our students with language partners. So I'm going to just give you, this is a very, very important part of the program as well. So I'm going to give you to go back to your partner again and see how do you anticipate this relationship working for you and your language partner. What do you have in mind right now when you hear language partner? Go ahead. Okay, so let's get back together. So how do you anticipate this relationship? Tell me. How do you think this thing is going to work out? Yes.
It would be a very casual and informal way for you to learn the language and practice,
Okay.
as well as learning certain cultural things.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anybody else? Yes.
In terms of the relationship, I think it's going to be like really friendly, and like you try to befriend them and stuff.
Mm-hmm. What do you think you're going to be doing with them? Where are you going to go? Yes.
Conversing and like maybe doing other activities.
Mhm.
Discotheque.
Okay. That's very important. You need to do that, yes. Anything else? Yes.
It can be more of a resource that's like our age, because we talk with the host family, but they're like in a
Very good point. Mhm.
feel the culture from their perspective.
Yes, very good point. Okay. So this is one of the really highlights of the program. It's very structured in a sense that we are not going to just assign it to someone and say, okay, bye, see you at the end of the program. Go together, do whatever you feel like doing. No. It's going to be very structured. We're going to organize it. We're going to ask you for feedback. We're going to work with you. And the way that like I've done it again in the past, and many of my colleagues have done it in the same way, is that we divide. You roughly get about 3 hours a week in most programs with the language partners. So imagine 2 days being with them for an hour and a half. And maybe an hour and a half of it would be completely a free time for you that you could decide together what is it that you would like to do. And it doesn't have to be fixed times. It could be in many programs you just figured it out together. And you might just say, can we go watch a movie? Can we go dance? Can we go see your friends? Or they have suggestions for you. The language partners are your entry point to the community of young people, somebody your age in that culture. What do they do? What kind of activities do they like? In many cases, the language partner can become your best friend when the relationship works well. I had a student like last year whose language partner, she literally traveled with her every single weekend, and now I've heard that she might be coming to Houston and visit her. They've stayed in touch the entire year. She was an amazing, amazing girl. Like, this language partner was the sweetest person on earth I've met. She helped my students so much, and they became, I mean, she told me, like, I don't even think I have such a good friend even here. Like, she is such a great friend, and they continue the collaboration even after we left. And it is nice for you to be able, as you said, to go to the young people and to try again with young people. That's what we've learned. What do you think? Is that what you say? How do you talk to this person, for example? They're going to also help you complete some assignments, for example. If you don't know how to go to a store and ask the price, I don't know, of some items and eventually purchase one, they are the ones who can go with you and guide you. Here's what you're going to say, and observe how you do it and give you feedback about different things. The only comment that I'm going to make is that in my program, the only feedback that I received, that, you know, everything was great. The only things that I said, it's great if the relationship works very well. It's not so great if it doesn't work. So you're stuck with someone for 6 weeks that you do not, for some reasons, connect. So what I have decided for this year for my own students is that we are going to alternate and switch every single week. So my students will have the opportunity to work with 6 different people. So they're going to get a chance to know somebody else. They're going to get a chance to work with somebody else. And it's nice for them to see, because they're all different. So they can learn from each one of them, maybe in a different way. So then also, if the relationship doesn't work, that's okay. It's just 1 week, and then we're going to move on. So that's the plan. I don't know if it's going to work or not. I will let you know. But that's what I'm trying. I'm planning. My students will tell you once we come back. And here is another quote for my students on how her experience was with the language partner. So one of the people who made this experience unique and exceptional was my language partner. I appreciate him because he did a lot for me, more than what was necessary. I think my work with him really helped me improving my French. He put me in touch with his friends, and for me it was crucial to be around people who were not judging me and always tried to engage with me, despite the fact that it was not always easy. So the majority had great experience with their language partners. I didn't have really any issues. So to close this part of the presentation, I just wanted to give you one more quote, because I think what matters the most is not what I'm saying, is what the students that are your friends are saying, that who have been to those programs. Here I learned lots of linguistic and cultural things, but more than that, I understood better myself as well as my own American culture. I learned more than a language. I learned a new way of living. This experience is like winning the lottery. I never thought it would be possible, but it changed my life forever. And that's what I get from the majority of my students in one way or another. So for me, I think all the work that you do, if at the end you get this and you get here, it was all worth it. All the work we do, all the work that we are doing abroad. And I know that for you, it seems like you are also doing a lot of work, but trust me, in order to make sure that this collaboration works perfectly for you, this is a lot of work. And our main objective is to make sure that you're successful and you come back and you're happy with your experience and you have learned a lot. So I'm gonna just take a few minutes to go back. I know we've had a meeting with Wellbeing already. I wanted to go over some main information just as a reminder, and I'm gonna ask all faculty leaders to upload that on Canvas for you. So in case later on during the program you wanted to get more information, you have it handy. So we're gonna share with you again the phone number of Wellbeing and the Study Abroad Office, or for later on or for now before you leave. Please review all the health concerns before you go abroad. Make sure that you get all of your checkups before you go, and be prepared. They already went over the assessment, the disclosure, and the preparedness. One thing I'm going to again mention here based on experience is that please, if you really think that you are not sure about something, you're somebody who is maybe a more sensitive person, you're somebody who doesn't deal good with change of routine, somebody who has a hard time adapting, any of these things, it's good to bring those things up now, to go talk to someone, get their opinion, and learn how you can maybe get help, any kind of help now. I've had a lot of students and I've heard from a lot of programs. Luckily, I didn't have many issues, but many of the students after a week or two, they really feel depressed. They really feel that it's so hard for them. The beginning is beautiful. The first week is amazing. Then comes the stage where you're like, oh my God, this is so overwhelming. And then it gets better again. But in order to get to this better again, you need to have help, you need to have support. And it's very, very important that you recognize already now if you need to talk to someone and to figure out if you're someone who would benefit from any kind of help. So please do so. It's gonna help everybody. So you don't have to deal with it when you are abroad. So they're just I'm not gonna go over them and waste your time, but this is like just an overview of what has been shared with us. We're gonna make sure to share this with you. Make sure that if there is anything in a case that there is an emergency or anything, we're gonna have to contact ISOS, make sure that you have signed up with them. We're gonna have to contact RISE. And in case that we do foresee that there are any kind of emergencies, even if the student is sitting there and doesn't know if she needs help or not, this is our duty just because we are responsible for you to get help from RISE. And that's their job to figure out what they need to do. But if there is any concern on our part, we would just need to get help and to figure out how to help you and how RISE can help you, and they can get involved with that. Do you have any questions? I know it's a lot of information on a Saturday morning after the end of the semester. That's a lot. Questions? No? Okay. So I'm gonna let my student, Nicolas, who went with me 2 years ago to RISE in France, and he loved it so much that now he's gonna do the RISE in Japan. He's so brave. He's gonna talk to you a little bit about his experience as a student. So I'm gonna give him, thank you. Oh, sorry. Let me just give you this.
Hope that's not too close. Okay, hi everyone. So I'll be talking about my experiences with RISE in France and just kind of some of the things I experienced and some of the ways I dealt with some of the problems that we've talked about. And I don't know, maybe it'll help you guys. So about me, I'm a junior mech major from Lovett. That's me in France. This is me in Japan. I was in Japan last summer. So I kind of have experience from a couple of countries, and hopefully it'll be useful to most of y'all. Cool, so the way this presentation is kind of structured is some of the challenges that I've faced or you might face, and kind of some of the advice or I don't know, things that I've dealt with and stuff. Cool, so the language pledge. This is gonna kind of mirror Miriam's presentation, which was awesome. Love her, she's great. Seriously, amazing. So, yeah, language pledge. You're not gonna be fluent and that's gonna be rough. You're going to get there and you're going to want to talk about all these things and you're not going to know half the words you want to use or half the grammar patterns, and you're just going to kind of sit there. I make this face a lot. Whenever someone says something, I'm just like, what? Ozaki-sensei knows. So, and it can be kind of frustrating because you're used to being fluent and now you're not. So that can be kind of isolating sometimes, But like Miriam said, there's nothing like immersion, and this is your chance to go out there. You're going to make mistakes, and that's when you're going to learn. You're going to say something, your host family is going to go like, what? And then they're going to laugh, and they're like, oh, you mean this. And then the next time you want to say that to someone who's not your host family, you're going to get it right, and they're not going to be really confused. So learning opportunities. And so kind of like getting into this homesickness thing, you're in a new country, nothing's familiar, and you might get homesick. So something that I learned like from my last program in Japan was that it's okay to bring something with you. So I was gonna bring something. So I have this Elmo doll that I've had since I was 2, and he's gone with me to both France and Japan. So it's something that I've had like literally all my life that I took with me. If you have like a favorite kind of gum that you chew or a favorite candy bar, like bring some of it because you're gonna get lonely, you're gonna miss your family, and it's just nice to have something familiar. But you can always also call your family, like don't forget, we have the internet. So you can use like Skype, WhatsApp, like there's so many different apps to keep in touch with your family. So when you're lonely, when you're a little sad, just call up your family and say, hey, what's up? I'm in France, this is awesome. I tried snails the other day. Like, your family's gonna wanna hear from you, so don't just like forget about them. But also, on the other side, kind of detaching from your family, it is really important that you immerse yourself in this culture and that you make new connections. So the more people that you meet, the more people you talk to, the more things you do, the less time you have to be sitting there thinking, oh, I wish I were home. And the more connections you make, the more at home you'll feel where you are. You'll get that support system, you'll make these connections that'll really, really help you adjust and help you learn the language and also learn the culture, which is another super great part of the program. So kind of moving on to the host family. Yeah, host family was definitely my favorite part of the Rice and Country experience, but you are living with strangers. You're living with completely new people that you don't know, you barely speak the language, it's a new home environment. So we were in France and there was not much AC, and it was one of the hottest summers on record in the summer. So my roommate and I had a roommate during my program, we would like open the window and just kind of like splay out in our bed being like, I'm melting. But it's something you have to get used to. Some people might not have as good of Wi-Fi, so they might say, oh, please don't stream videos. Or you might have to have a curfew because your family has little kids. There's just a lot of things that you're not used to that this host family is going to ask of you, and you just really need to kind of go with it and be accepting because they are inviting you into their home. And like the what if I get sick question, I had that question because I got sick, and it was embarrassing. I didn't want to tell them. Like, okay, imagine you make a friend, like, and you go to their house the weekend for the first time, you're meeting their family, and you have diarrhea. That's what happened to me. I had diarrhea. I was so embarrassed. I didn't want to say anything. I texted Miriam, and I was like, what do I do? And she was like, tell them. So they gave me medicine. They were like, okay, and like my roommate also got sick. And they were like, so we had 2 bathrooms. They're like, you guys use this one bathroom, we'll use the other bathroom. Like, you don't want to contaminate your entire family. And we were also working at this nursing home, and at one point I had a fever of like, 40 degrees Celsius or something, and which is like pretty high. And I was like, I don't really want to go to a nursing home with a fever and gastrointestinal distress. So I stayed home and napped. And it's really important that you tell your host family and tell your faculty leader. Like, these people are there for you. If you don't know them well already, you will, and they really want you to learn and they want you to be safe. Like, Miriam made me chicken and rice because I was like, what do I eat? Should I eat all these vegetables? She was like, no, 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 no. So she made me and my roommate food. Like, these people really care. She also randomly just bought graham cracker things sometimes. And she would always have snacks. I don't know, Miriam's great, but don't expect snacks, but you might be in for a treat. So, trust them, and then going into dinner time conversations, which is kind of a 180 there. These meal times are long. In France, they were about 2 hours of dinner that started at 8 and ended at 10. So we would start when the sun was up, and then we would end when the sun was down, and then it was shower, bed, go. It's sleep time. And it was kind of insane, but really great. I had so many conversations that I would never have had in a classroom. My host family were actors. One was an instructor, one just did it for fun, and we talked about the differences in style of American and French acting. When are you gonna talk about that? Unless you take a French playwriting class or something. You're never gonna talk about these things except for here. So kind of this is going to the cultural exchange. Talk about familiar topics. Do you like sports? Oh, maybe you like soccer. Well, guess who else likes soccer? The rest of the world. So like, talk about that. Talk about like food, classes, music, hobbies, like anything that can get that conversation going, because I guarantee you, you're gonna have something in common. You might have nothing else in common, but maybe you discovered this one ramen shop you like in Japan, and they're like, oh my gosh, I love that kind of ramen. Or they'll be like, oh, well, maybe you should try this ramen. Like, just like little conversations like that really get the relationship going. So don't be afraid to just like have small talk, because it will lead to big talk. And kind of circling back to the less meaningful conversations, that's kind of an early problem, because once you get these bigger topics going, you can have these more meaningful, more deeper conversations where your language skills will grow, you'll learn new words, and you'll learn new grammar, and you'll learn about new people, and it's super awesome. Can confirm. So, kind of, this is like the end. I had like 10 minutes, and I don't really know how many I've used. Oh, good, almost, we're on time. So, Rising Country commitments, there are a lot of things to do. So there's classes, there's service learning, there's excursions, there are language partners, there's a lot of pre-planned time commitments, and it's a lot of forced interaction. So if you're not like me and wanting to get up and tell everyone about the one time you had diarrhea in France, it might be hard for you. And that's fine. Like, you're challenging yourself, you're pushing yourself, it's part of the program, and you're gonna be better for it. But really just try and push through. It's going to be hard sometimes. You're going to have had a long day, you've done your homework, you've done your class, it's 90-something degrees Fahrenheit, and you're just like, I want to go sleep. But it's kind of in those moments where you have to just go, be free, like talk to people. You're never going to see these people again, maybe. So you really want to make the most of everyone you meet, like spend a lot of time with people. And even if you're tired, just go for it, and it'll be worth it. And so, like I said, there's a lot of time commitments, but you really should try and find a balance. So please do your homework, please. But also, like, go out and explore the city. When else are you going to be wherever you are? I don't know where all y'all are going to be. But like, when else are you going to be there? Like, look up holidays and festivals in the area. Some of the coolest things I experienced in Japan was I stumbled upon a festival that looked like I walked into Tangled. You know the lantern scene? They put lanterns on the beach, like paper brown, like bags of lanterns. They made shapes of like boats and aquamarine things. No, just marine things, not aquamarine. And it was like the coolest experience, because I was like, what? There's so many holidays. And also, yeah, this is a great way to make friends, like over there. So I'm kind of like, ooh. So yeah, make your friends and make the most of it. And so kind of general advice, push yourself, but take care of yourself. So if you're really not feeling well, if you have a fever, if you think something's going wrong, let your host family know, let your faculty leader know. They really care for you and they want the best. And you can't really do well if your like arm's falling off or something. So please like communicate. Also brush up on your politics. I learned when I was in France that as like everyone in the world knows about American politics, but the odds that I know anything about any other politics, even American, are very small. So I'd recommend like just brushing up on things like recent legislation or like how your country is affected by our new president or like these things that are happening, because they probably will ask these questions, and that's another good connecting point. Go places when invited, even if you're tired, so once again, making connections. Do things unique to the country that you're in. So when I was in Japan, I went to a cat cafe, an owl cafe, super fun, would recommend. Like in France, we went to, like on some of the cultural excursions, there was like a giant like bridge where you put your hands in the rocks and you make a wish, or like a French cafe, like, oh my gosh. So it's just like things that you can only really do in these countries. So also do something memorable. I climbed a mountain both summers, so it's like something maybe you won't get to do, but like try and find something like big that you can like go home and tell your friends like, oh yeah, I did this. Of course, that'll be the whole program. But I mean, do something big, why not? YOLO, right? And also spend as much time with the people you meet as you can, because that's one thing I regret, as I wish I would have spent more time with my host family. I wish I would have, I don't know, like just spent more time. Like I was tired, I wanted to take a nap, I wanted to do whatever. I wish I would have spent more time with my host family. I wish I would have gone out in the city more. So really make the most of this time, because once it's gone, you're gonna look back and be like, oh, I wish I hadn't taken that nap that one day and had just like chilled with my family. So that was a really fast presentation, and I think I went 2 minutes over time. But good luck, everyone. Yeah, you're gonna have a great time. So I think it's like a Q&A time for like 8 minutes. Okay, cool.
You're still going to Japan? Are you sure?
Yes.
Maybe you change your mind.
Yeah, so does anyone have any questions about like my experiences or like any situational questions or anything you really just want to know that I can maybe like help out with? Or Miriam or any of the faculty leaders really? Anything? Wow, tough crowd.
The only thing that I didn't really say anything about it, I'm just thinking right now, before all of these things happens, what we need from you, and we want to make sure is that you are safe. So safety really, really comes first. And something that I'm going to tell, I think everybody's going to tell you during the breakout sessions, is that please make smart choices when you are abroad. Really conduct yourself just like, this is not Rice campus. People are not going to come and save you. There are going to be consequences, and it's very, very much real. So please be safe. Please, wherever you go, don't go alone. I always tell my students, have one person with you. Don't ever say, I'm good enough, I'm going to go by myself, I'm very independent. No. Being independent is one thing, and I know we are all very capable, but it's always best to be safe and take extra precautions than just being sorry later on. If you have a friend, you go somewhere, you drink too much, don't leave your friend behind and just go. Just please be safe. I mean, before you can learn anything and enjoy this experience, we need to make sure that in one piece and healthy, we can send you back to your families, okay? Because that's the moment that I feel very good. The moment my students are gone in the plane, I'm like, okay, I did it, I'm good to go. I can just go back to my life and they're all safe. So just please be safe. Please communicate with your local provider and with the faculty that we are really there to help you. I mean, I might just be a little bit sometimes more extreme, like I'm somebody who is more like, yes, if my student gets diarrhea, I'm gonna go cook for them. But the bottom line is that we are really there to listen to you. I've been through tough times. I've had many conversations with my students that, you know, oftentimes they couldn't even talk to their friends. So I was there for every single one of my students, and I tried my best to help them as much as I could. So we are there to help. You're not alone, even though you feel like, you know, in this big country, city, and all over. So please be safe and communicate. Thank you.
Yeah, another thing like that just reminded me, so like about the thing going alone, like it's not even that, oh, maybe something will happen, maybe you get drink too much, maybe someone like does something weird. Like one of the people on my trip got stung by a bee. We were all together and she felt something on her shoulder, she brushed it off, she got stung by a bee. Who knows what to do if you get stung by a bee in like a different country? Yeah, exactly. So we didn't either, and luckily Miriam was like, let's go to the pharmacy, because like the pharm techs are like really different, they're really knowledgeable. They just like got out this weird contraption, like sprayed it, sucked out the stinger, like did all this stuff, and like it was a great learning experience. And I'm allergic to bees, so if it would have been me like by myself, I don't know, it might not have turned out too well. Like I don't think I'm deathly allergic, but it's not fun, and I wouldn't have known what to do. So that's like another like even just more like mild reason why you should go with someone, because even like kind of everyday situations like that, you don't know how to deal with. So if you have someone else, you can either figure it out or they can call someone for you, and like just don't go places alone.
Thank you.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, friends.
Are we moving to Kate? Or we I can't remember that.
Next is all the forms.
The forms we can have them signed during the breakout sessions if you want. Yeah.
Yeah, we have, more program assessment.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. And then, so we can do the form, this is part of the, it's the forms. Okay, so let's do the form address. Let's do the form address. Fine. You're just gonna distribute them. We're gonna just go over them. I know, so we're gonna just go over them. Or not? No. Okay, so we're gonna go over it?
Yeah.
Kate, are you ready to talk about program assessment?
Sure.
I think we can wait, because then they'll be the break when they go over.
Do I?
Yes. Thanks. You can put that in your pocket. Okay.
Okay. Hi. I'm Kate White. I'm a postdoc at CLIC. You will be doing 2 questionnaires. before and after you go on your trip. You will receive one from me, technically from Qualtrics, but I'm the contact, and the other one from Dr. Song, who's back there. But basically, one is a questionnaire about your expectations, sort of what you want to get out of the trip, and then the other is a questionnaire about your cultural knowledge. And so basically, we'll ask you to do one today, and you'll receive the other one when you get back from the trip. So we'll send out that email in just a little while, and we just ask that you at some point today while you're here, maybe waiting for your oral quiz, maybe while you're eating lunch, do the survey. You can do it on your phone, on your laptop. You can go into the lab in Razor and do it. Just try to get it done today. It's pretty short. The one we get back is a little longer, but this one's pretty short. Also, we're going to be doing some research involving the study abroad programs, but we don't have those consent forms for you today just because it's not quite ready yet. But I'll be contacting you sometime this week about that. And basically, what we're going to be asking is whether or not we can use the data from your program for the research. So there isn't necessarily more for you to do in every situation. So does that make sense? So the questionnaires are a program requirement, so we need you to complete those as soon as possible. That's pretty much it. You can ask me any questions that you have at any time.
So I think now we've got a little bit of time for a break. We're going to start breakout sessions. They're going to be over in the humanities building. So yeah, so we also have t-shirts for everyone. They're specific for each program. I can start giving them out now as we move over to the humanities building and or during lunch or later this afternoon. And we also have a tripod for everybody that you can stick your phone on so you can record